What are your picky eater questions for today? I'm doing a live stream. I'm live on a few different platforms. I have not been live on YouTube for a while, but I had a video go a bit viral, and I thought, you know what? Let's go live everywhere. So if you've got questions, if you're a new follower, welcome. Thank you so much for following along and being here. I want to know what questions you have and how old is your picky eater? Drop any questions that you have into the chat. And I see there's a couple coming in on TikTok. I'm going to answer those. So welcome. Hi. Thank you. I'm live on all three platforms at the moment. I've had a few new people join me over on YouTube. So I haven't done a YouTube live in ages. But if you've got any questions about picky eaters, how old is your picky eater? What are you struggling with? I'm going to be live for a little while just answering some questions. I'm going to also tell you a little bit about some of the clients that I'm working with at the moment so that you kind of know like what does progress look like? What does it look like? And at what point would you expect to see progress? Because that's something that I get a lot of as well. Because I do talk a lot about how you guys, you don't get to have a picky eater. That doesn't happen overnight. Oftentimes it's many months or years in the making, and you can't reverse it in the space of a couple of days or weeks. What I will say though is you definitely can make progress in the space of a couple of weeks, which may sound absolutely crazy. We're not talking about, again, the child who refuses broccoli, that they're all of a sudden eating broccoli. No, but I'll give you an example. One of my newest clients, we've had one call, and that was less than 2 weeks ago. And her 3.5-year-old, or their 3.5-year-old, was refusing veggies on his plate entirely and just saying everything was yuck and saying he doesn't want them. And within the space of a week, he went from that to accepting veggies on his plate. And he actually was asking for, I want like 7 green beans or 7 peas or whatever. And he was touching them, feeding them to his parents, when normally he would just say no and refuse to even have them on his plate. So no, is he eating the peas? No. Do we expect that after a week? No. But is it progress to be accepting foods that he previously was saying no and that's disgusting? That's huge progress. And most of the parents that I speak with in messages or anything like that would absolutely say like that is progress. Hi, thank you so much for being live with me. I've done my little spiel and I'd love to know tell me like what you're struggling with at the moment. All right, so I've got a 32-year-old on TikTok. Onions are my biggest hang up. I want to like them so bad simply because they prevent me from enjoying so many foods. Okay, and then I've got a question about an 18-month-old. Let me come back to that one. So I had worked with an adult client before, probably 2 years ago now, and the fact that you want to make progress is the most important thing. It's just like a parent who wants to show up and work with me. If you're not like ready to like make changes and like, I guess, do the work to make the changes, you're not really a good candidate for coaching. So the fact that you want to learn how to like them, my question to you would be, what ways have you tried eating them? There's also different kinds of onions. There's like the white ones, there's the purple ones. They have different flavors. You can soak them to take out some of the sulfuric compounds. You can just soak them in water. You can also pickle them. Roasting them turns them really sweet. You can saute them down, which also makes them really sweet. There's so many different things that you can do. So my question is it like a texture thing? Is it a taste thing? Because if it's a taste or a texture thing, cooking them and preparing them in different ways changes both the taste and the texture. So that would be like a big thing that I would be recommending. And also similarly for kiddos who are struggling with certain foods, like for example, one of my more selective eater, who is 7 now, decided she didn't want to eat carrots anymore, but like randomly. And so I'm still offering carrots. And I kind of said to her, like, normally we would have them in spears. Why don't we shred them and try them that way? And I didn't frame it to her in the way of like asking for her permission. It was more like, that's what we're going to do. And that's what we're going to do. So that's what we did. And she ended up eating them, which was fantastic. And like, again, that's not necessarily what's going to happen every time, but it's a really good start. Actually, I know this is a bit awkward. I'm going to move you. I've got a little bit more space on my bench over here. So I'm going to actually bring you over here. And you're also closer to a window. So keep sending questions. Hold on. Got YouTube is on my laptop, which is big and clunky. So hold on a sec. Let me just let me make sure everything is okay. I'm going to grab my water bottle. I'm also drinking my first coffee of the day, and there's only a little bit left. So I'll come back for the 18-month-old question in just a sec. Okay. Thanks for being patient. Let me just put you up here. Beautiful. Okay. So another thing that you can tell me I'm interested in is what are some of the things that you've tried to help your picky eater that obviously have not worked, or maybe there is something that has worked. Okay. Thank you so much for sending those. Thank you, and for sending likes. Thank you so much. My nearly 18-month-old hates eating lunch and won't have it. I've tried all different food. Okay, is it only lunch? And my question about lunch is, does that mean that you're like, there's a lot of questions here. If we were on a discovery call, I would be asking you lots of questions like these. Okay, is it only lunch? Why do you think it's lunchtime? And like, why do you think lunchtime is the hardest thing? Often when parents say like dinner's the hardest meal, it's because their kids are tired and it's the meal that has the most difficult foods in it, the most like complex foods. So like foods that they don't like. And for lunches and snacks and, you know, those sorts of things, and breakfast, they tend to be foods that your child really does like to eat, in which case those are really easy foods to like. So I've got a collection of questions for you. One, is it only lunches? Two, what reason do you think it's lunches? Do you think it's because it's right before having like a nap and she's tired or he's tired? Do you think it's because that's the meal that has the most challenging food in the day? Is it for some other reason? And my other question is, are you giving a separate meal? Because that's a big thing too. Sometimes I have a parent who says, oh, like, no, they eat their dinner. That's fine. Like we don't have problems with eating dinner. But then I find out that they're giving a separate meal and the kid is eating chicken nuggets and everybody else is eating like curry. Okay, that's a big problem, because not only is that unnecessary to make a separate meal, you're actually perpetuating the issue by singling them out and saying like, oh, you're not having curry tonight, you're going to have whatever, the chicken nuggets or whatever. So that just further separates them out from having their own food, and that like why would they even bother trying the curry when they have chicken nuggets? Like, you wouldn't. Okay, around midday before her nap, but always thinking could be because she has milk at nap. So, okay, so it's before her nap. So do you think she's holding out for milk? And she's 18 months old. That could be okay. Thank you for telling me that. Next question is, how much milk is she drinking in the day? Because if she's just waiting for the nap to have milk instead of food, that's a problem. I've done a couple of videos on that. I might need to do some more. And this is something that I've worked with a number of clients on. Sometimes I'm working with kids that are 5 that are still having a milk bottle. And if it's not a bottle, like if it's a bottle, that's like a really big issue, like in terms of muscle development in the mouth and that kind of thing. But sometimes it's 4 and 5-year-olds that are just drinking milk out of a cup, but they're drinking like half a liter of milk a day, which is a lot, or they're drinking it 3 times a day, which is absolutely going to be knocking back appetite and crowding out the source of nutrients. Because once your child turns 12 months old, their primary source of nutrition should be from food, not milk. So that's my question to you, is how much milk is she having? And you're probably needing to drop that bottle or milk before nap time. That's something, this is anecdotal, that I did with my own kids, because I knew that it does become a problem, is removing the milk bottle by 12 months old. Around 150 ml at lunch. And how much is she having at other times in the day? How much? Okay, that's helpful to know. How much is she having total in an approximate 24-hour period? This is a video that I'm planning on doing like a bit of a deeper dive in the Picky Plate Academy. If this is the first time you're hearing about that, that's my new membership website I launched, so that if you cannot commit to coaching, you're able to get started and have some support, not only inside the the platform, you're able to ask questions. There's also a live coaching call with me. It's not like this. You can turn on your video and ask questions. You can submit questions. And there's also a growing toolbox, like a library on the platform, that every month there are new videos that come out. They're short tutorials. I try to keep them under 7 minutes so that you can actually action and implement those tools at your next meal. And you also get access to all 3 of my online courses. If you join for 6 months, you get 1 month for free. So it ends up being $26 per month. If you join month to month, which you can do as well, it's $32. So it is the most affordable way to get started. And the link to that is in my bio. It's called the Picky Plate Academy. And our next group coaching call is coming up in about 2 weeks, I think, just under 2 weeks. How good is coffee? Seriously. And that was instant shit. Wasn't too bad. Okay. 350 mil in a 24-hour period, 150 at lunch, 200 or less before night sleep. I did try to drop it, but she wasn't eating, so I was worried she wasn't getting anything she needs. Okay, that's quite possible. And what I will say to when a parent signs up to work with me and that's the issue that they're having. So like, for example, one family, their child was drinking like 500 mils of milk per day, which is way above the recommendations for a child over 12 months old. That is crowding out nutrients, that is going to increase the likelihood of your child having iron deficiency anemia. It also is a crutch for picky eating in particular, where they can just, milk is very filling. If you're drinking milk, you're filling yourself up and you don't need to eat that much food because milk is filling. So there's all kinds of flow-on effects from having too much milk. And then in addition to that, so 350 mil is still like around what is the acceptable amount. But I will say I've had families that are giving milk 3 times a day and they're giving approximately that much, but it's having the same effect. The appetite is being knocked back. The child is therefore feeling no need to eat, or they'll just hold out for the milk. So what I tell parents when we work together, and this can be a really tricky thing, because if your child is relying very heavily on milk, if I come along and I say, okay, we're just like decreasing milk now, that can be very stressful. And what I usually say is that there's a 2-week period of adjustment time where your child needs to get used to not having as much milk. And we're also at the same time putting in strategies at the table at meal times to help engage your child with food and help promote food at the same time that we're removing milk. We're not just removing milk and doing nothing else. We're doing like a few different things at the same time so that we're decreasing milk and we're helping your child have a much more likely chance of trying and eating actual food at a meal. So we're doing a few different things at the same time because it can be very stressful if your child's primary source of nutrition is milk and then all of a sudden we're removing the milk. We also do this. That's my bird. I don't know if you can hear her. She's taking herself for a fly. The other thing that I will say is that when we're reducing milk, we're not doing it in such a way that it's like they were having milk 3 times a day and now we're just giving it to them once a day or not at all, because that can be very stressful for both parent and child. And it can be kind of traumatic as well. So that when we work together, we set up a plan of based on which meal your child is most attached to. It's often dinner or bedtime that they most want their milk. So we will come up with a plan that makes sense for that child as to what milk we're reducing and how much and that kind of thing. And then also putting in those other strategies to make sure that the child is more likely to interact with foods at meal times and have better opportunities for success. So they don't just like run away from the table screaming that they want their milk. Because if they're doing that, they're not going to come back to the table and eat anything. It would be unlikely that they do that. So there's a few different things at play. So what I would suggest, if you, depending where you feel like you're at right now, you can flick me a private message and tell me that you came from the live. Let me know that you're interested in one-on-one coaching. We can set up a discovery call to meet and chat through things. The other thing I should ask you as well, but also if I was to offer chicken nuggets, she would eat lunch. So confusing if it's milk or picky eating. Okay, that was going to be my next question is, what is your child's food variety like? Is she eating a lot of different foods, or is she quite selective? Because it could be, chances are, what I usually see with this is that picky children use milk as a crutch. Not always. There are children that don't like milk that are picky eaters, and that's a thing too. But if you have in my experience, if I'm working with a child that is very heavily dependent on milk, it's because they don't have a lot of food variety, and milk is easy. Milk is always the same color, texture. It tastes the same. It's always the same, and it's very easy to drink it. And that tends to mean that they're not eating a lot of other foods. So one of the clients that I had, who was a 4-year-old boy, who he was eating 2 foods when we started working together: naan bread and milk. And milk is a beverage. I'm still considering it a food, because that's how we treat milk once your child turns 1, is it is treated like a food. So he had two foods, and what we were doing here was we were removing one of his foods, or decreasing it, be the milk, and then helping him increase his other foods, because he had like no variety. He was eating bread. That was his naan bread, particularly. That was the only thing he was eating. She will eat anything at dinner, likes pasta, meat, curries, etc. Dinner, she's a great eater. It is so confusing. What about breakfast and snacks? Is she frequently asking for snacks? And does she have good variety at breakfast? So I guess in terms of triaging this to figure out if it's a problem, there are a few questions that I would have you ask yourselves if you think your child is quite a selective eater. Is 1, are they eating less than 20 foods? Like in terms of variety. If your child eats chicken nuggets, apples, carrots, chips, and like nothing else, they're eating 4 foods. That's less than 20. That's a problem. Are they eating a variety of foods from all the food groups? So if your child doesn't eat a single vegetable, they have eliminated an entire food group. That's not a variety from every food group. If your child is eating a good variety from all the other food groups but doesn't eat vegetables, we would be focusing on vegetables. But often it's at least 2 food groups that are suffering. Often, and in my practice, it's usually vegetables and meat. Sometimes it's fruit and meat, but often those are the 2 categories that are suffering. I do have a client right now whose kid loves meat and doesn't really like carbs and isn't really into grains and doesn't have much grain variety. So that's the next question: is how much variety? Are they eating 20 foods or less, or close to 20 foods? Because if your child's eating 22 foods, that's not great either, because they're more than likely decreasing their reliable foods. So that is going to continue to decrease over time. Are they eating a variety from all the food groups? And variety does not mean 3 things. If your child eats 3 vegetables, that's not a lot of variety in the vegetable category. So that's question number 2. The third question is it getting to the point where it's like stressing you out because they're not consistently eating, or they're like what you're describing here is it's confusing. They're not eating consistently. That's stressful. So are mealtimes stressful? If yes, problem. If you're giving separate meals, problem again. So those are kind of, and the last one is your child's reliable food list shrinking? Because usually what I see with clients, and if you've got a child they've started at 1.5, starting to dropping foods off their list, having their reliable list has gone from like 150 to like 100, that's decreased by 1/3. That's a lot. That's a big decrease. So if that's continuing to happen, if your child is continuing to drop foods, that's a problem too. So those are like the major red flags that I'm suggesting you look out for. Breakfast, not massive variety, but not a massive breakfast. She would easily eat more than 20 foods. Okay, I'll definitely message you because lunchtime is very stressful. It has been for at least 2 months probably. Okay, yeah, send me a message. There are a couple of options. Working together one-on-one. I do have an opening in my practice at the moment. So if you think that that's something that you'd like to do, feel free to send me a private message, or you can go directly to my website and book a discovery call. If you go to my page, there's like 3 lines in the top right corner. You can tap on those, go to work with me and book a discovery call. And the other option, if coaching is not cheap, it's a commitment of 5 months, because that's how long it takes to, like, you start seeing progress within a couple of weeks, but that's how long it takes to get from where you are now to reaching your goals of where you want to be. So it is a big commitment. And if you're not sure that you can commit like that, the membership, the Peaky Plate Academy, is the place to start. It's as low as $26 per month. And there's a ton of videos in there. There are new videos added each month. You get access to all my online courses, and you get access to a place to ask questions, and a live monthly call with me, like a training coaching call on Zoom. And it's not like this. You are able to ask questions. It's very, I want it to be very, engaging, so that you can ask questions as well. I have an in-home daycare and 2 of my kids hardly eat anything, definitely less than 20 foods. It's so stressful to give the others variety when they eat so little. One is 2 and the other is 2.5. They definitely rely on milk. What can I do to help? Have the parents reach out to somebody, honestly, because if you're running the daycare, it's really hard. Like, first of all, I don't know, I hesitate to say this a little bit, but I'm not sure if this is the right thing to say. I might get canceled for saying it, but when your child's at daycare, right, they still come home to the parent, and it's really the parent's job to be the one putting those boundaries around food, like milk, and I don't want to say restricting it, but putting boundaries on it, so the child isn't drinking 700 mils of milk every day, and implementing some strategies around rich, positive exposures around food. That is definitely something that an educator at a school can do. But I'm also conscious, like, my kids have gone through daycare and they're at school now, that you're dealing with a lot of other kids that need your attention. You can't be sitting one-on-one with the child. And that's honestly something that when I work with a parent one-on-one, one of the things, like, I work privately, my practice is private, and it's really nice when I meet a parent. You can kind of tell if a parent is like, oh, I work a lot, I'm not there a lot, I don't do a lot, like, they're with the nanny a lot. The child has the rapport with the parent, and we can, like, I've worked with families who have nannies, and we've been able to, like, clue the nanny in so that they can help and all of that. But really, the parent really needs to be invested in this. And there's no nice way to say that, and I'm not quite sure if I'm articulating myself very well. It really is, and it's the consistency that children need. So yeah, if they're at daycare, like, a lot during the week, that's fine, but they're still with the parents on the weekend and all of that. Absolutely agree that parents reinforcing the behavior at home. No hate from me here. Okay, thank you. What she does at home. What does she eat at home? Noodles. Oh, it's exactly what I would be saying too. Like, so that sounds like the child's eating separate meals as well, which isn't, it's a big issue, because think about it. If your child is getting a separate meal all the time or frequently, it's reinforcing that habit of, they don't eat what we eat something else, that's your food. It doesn't encourage the child to eat the family's food. And sometimes I think one of my least favorite things is when a parent says they get their own meal, but we still offer them some of our food. That's, like, very tokenistic. And if I'm being really honest, put yourself in the child's position, right? If you really love chicken nuggets and someone's giving you curry, you're not going to be like, oh yeah, let me have the curry. You're going to be like, fuck you with the curry, I want chicken nuggets. So it's very tokenistic to say, like, I'm offering our food as well. It's not going to have the desired result of the child actually eating that food, right? Like, it's very, and I'll sometimes say this to a family, when we're talking through, like, how to work through some of the positive exposures and, like, the language changes and things like that. I usually say to them, I said, don't expect your child to turn to you and go, oh, mother, what a great idea you had there. Let me definitely try some of that tomato with some of this thing. That sounds like a great idea. Of course, your 2-year-old or 5-year-old or 7-year-old or 10-year-old is not going to say that to you. So, like, we really shouldn't expect them to do that, but we still need to lead by example. That's, like, the main thing. Hello, my 6-year-old refuses to try new foods. She brings only cheese sandwiches for school. Any tips, please? Lots of tips. Lots and lots and lots of tips. Okay, I don't know if you were here when we were talking about, like, the major signs of what makes a picky eater. One, is she eating a variety of foods from all the food groups? Is she eating 20 foods or less? If she's eating close to 20 foods or less, that's a problem. And mealtime stressful for either you or for her. And reliable foods, like, is her food list shrinking and decreasing? So if yes, that's a problem. Is she getting separate meals? Problem. So what I would suggest, like, without knowing a little bit more context, I'm guessing that the lunch she takes to school is not the biggest issue. I'm guessing that there's also issues that she's not eating a lot of variety and potentially getting a separate meal if she's that restricted. You'll have to tell me, because I'm not sure. So let me know. You can always, two things that I'm going to mention. One, I do have an opening in my one-on-one practice. Flick me a private message and ask to book a discovery call with me, or just go directly to my website and go to tap work with me, book a call. If coaching is not within your wheelhouse right now, because coaching with me is not cheap, it's a very intensive program. It's across 5 months. We have periodic calls where we meet, but you're also able to contact me anytime during that 5 months, in basically through DMing through the client platform, where you send me messages. I have clients that message me every day. This is what happened today. We had this win. We had this, something that didn't go well. What do I do? How do I build on this? So it's a very highly supportive program, and I'm just as invested in you as you are in me. If that's not something that you're able to afford at this time, like, completely understand. We live in difficult times right now. I do have a membership called the Picky Plate Academy. It's very new. It just launched recently. You get a monthly coaching call with me. There's a bunch of videos that are nice and short where you can watch them. I'm trying to keep them 5 minutes or less, so that you can take some of the strategies and implement them immediately, like today, with your child. So you get a live monthly call with me, basically coaching call. You get access to all my courses. You get access to this library of videos, and that's my washing machine. Thank you. I need to go and hang that up. And that's all accessible. If you join for 6 months, you get 1 month free. It's $26 per month USD, and if you want to join month to month, it's $32 USD. Can you download the PPA videos, please? Can I download them? Can you download them? I'm pretty sure I've made them that you can't download them, because then that kind of defeats the purpose, right? We try and use your strategies and make it more exciting, but he full on gags. Okay, hang on a second. Hang on. Piper, I've got a 2-year-old who hates squishy textures and has been picky since weaning. Any tips? Okay, thank you for understanding. Yeah, it's I'm from Mauritius. We'll message you. Yeah, message me. If you want to chat about coaching, absolutely. Let's set up a call, or join the Picky Plate Academy. Like I said, it's like $2,000 worth of content every month that you're getting for $26. And I've wanted to do this. I've wanted to create this space for a really long time, because I know one-on-one coaching is expensive, and not everyone can afford that. And if you can, you get my full and undivided attention, which is what I want to be able to deliver. But I also have wanted to have something that is available for people who not even necessarily can't even afford it. It also, so that if you don't need that level of support, you can still make progress. Okay, so Piper, your strategy. So he's gagging. Okay. So Piper, are you going to be on the live? I'm pretty sure it's next week. I can't access my calendar at the moment. It's either next week or it might be the week after. It might be the week after, actually. What I would suggest, I'd love to know a little bit more context around when the gagging is happening. On here, the first thing that I think about is, are you forcing your child or pressuring them to try something? Because most of the time a parent will say yes. That's why your child is gagging. If your child is gagging, but you're telling me that you're already in the Picky Plate Academy and that you're utilizing a lot of the techniques in there, that would make me believe that your child is trying something on their own and then gagging. If they're not being forced to try something, if you're forcing your child to try something and they're gagging, I'm not surprised at all. Sorry I say that so bluntly, but I'm not surprised at all. If your child is opting to try it on their own and they're gagging, it could be very much a texture issue. So what you can do in the Picky Plate Academy, in the Zoom section, you can post questions for the live. And what I would love for you to do, if you can go in there and post, give me a little bit of context, hey, I tried X tool from, one of your videos, or describe whatever the thing is. They tried cucumber. That he wanted to try it, he picked it up, he put it in his mouth, and he gagged or vomited or whatever, or he spat it out or whatever. If you can give me that context, it means that when I'm live with you in the academy, I have a better idea of what exactly is going on. Because on a live like this, a lot of stuff, I don't know, a lot of people have not followed me before. I might just be popping up on their page, and they will say my child gags, and when I ask them, are you pressuring your child to try something, they'll say yes. And I'll say, okay, that's why they're gagging. But sometimes there are cases, and I have worked with kids where it is more of a texture issue and they are not forcing or pressuring their child to try things. So that does require a different, more specialized approach versus just don't force your child to try things. So Piper, I'm not sure if you're a new subscriber to the Picky Plate Academy. If you go into the main section where the Zooms are, you can tap in there and you can leave a comment, and that's where you can put your question. All right, my washing is done, so I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you so much for being live with me and asking questions. If you want to chat about coaching, flick me a private message and just ask me about it. And if you want to join the Picky Plate Academy, our next live coaching call is it's either next week or the week after. I'm pretty sure it's the week after on the Wednesday. I would love to meet you face to face. It's always really good to meet people and talk and run through things. And yeah, it'd be my pleasure to serve you and support you. So you guys have a great day, and I will speak to you soon, and a great weekend. Bye.